All right, it looks like it's 6 o'clock, so we should get started. Again, my name is Megan. I'm the Academic Support Coordinator for College of Arts and Sciences Worldwide. Thanks so much for all of our speakers and our participants, our guests who are here today for taking time out of your day. We really appreciate it. And we're really excited to hear about your insights and experience with criminal justice in your careers. So we can go ahead and get started with Chief Young. Thanks so much, Chief Young. You now have the floor.
So first off, good evening, everybody. Like it's already been stated, my name is Jakari Young. I'm the Chief of Police for the City of Daytona Beach. I have been with the department now for over 25 years, the last 5 years and 8 months as Chief of Police. I probably average about 200 email a week. And the reason I'm pointing that out is the best email I received last week was from the department chair, Dr. Corbin, when she informed me of this criminal justice minor and invited me to be a part of this panel. So I'm extremely excited about what this criminal justice minor will offer to students, because I think it's a great complement to the other programs that already exist within Embry-Riddle. And it's just something that I'm extremely excited to be a part of. And I don't know if I'm just supposed to do my introduction at this part and then turn it over to the other speakers. So I'm gonna just pause there so we can, I guess, let the other speakers give their intro.
Sure, yeah. Also tonight joining us is Professor Stephen Hooper. Professor Hooper, if you'd like to introduce yourself, you can go ahead.
Okay, sure. Hi, guys. Glad to be part of this forum. And good for you guys for jumping on this to repeat what the chief said. It's a great idea to throw a minor on criminal justice in your program. I think the way forward with law enforcement uh, requires a much stronger base in the law enforcement world and understanding what police departments um, have to go through now and what they're going to have to deal with on the back end as a career. And the chief can speak to that. I did start my career in a small town in Dover, New Hampshire, as a police officer. Made my way to the Secret Service, and then spent my last 30 years in federal law enforcement with the FBI, and finished up running the FBI's office in Phoenix before I came on board with the College of Business Security and Intelligence at Embry-Riddle. And I think the marriage of state and local law enforcement with the federal intelligence, national intelligence, United States intelligence community is a critical piece. And so, that's what I was hoping to bring to the table today is understand. I ran the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force, and one of the critical elements there is the partnerships with state and local police officers who get security clearances, top secret security clearances, and are right in FBI field offices working on counterterrorism operations. And as well as Violent Crimes Task Force, the Safe Streets Task Force, gang task forces, all of them now, all of the FBI field offices now have dozens and dozens of state and local law enforcement resources that are getting top secret security clearances being moved into the FBI building. So I'll be touching on that as we go through this. So thank you for having me.
Thanks so much, Professor Hooper. Also on the program tonight is Dr. Michelle Gazitza. Um, Michelle, are you in the meeting?
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh,
You
yes,
went
thank you
quiet.
so much.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Michelle Gazica. I am the department chair of our Behavioral and Social Sciences department here at the Prescott campus. We have a forensic psychology program for which this minor may be most useful in terms of the programs we have in the department. As background, am a former attorney. I practiced for about 7 years and then transitioned into a PhD in psychology. On campus here, our students do receive a broad education in the psychological theories, but also in the criminal justice in terms of its systems and how humans work within that system. So I'm here to expand upon that as we go through this panel as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Finally, on the program, we also have Dr. Matthew Heath Van Horn. Dr. Van Horn.
Yes, hello. Hey, I'm Dr. Heath Van Horn. Spent 23 years in cyber and electronics in the Air Force. I did offense, defense, and support. And I was invited here to add a cyber twist to the discussion.
Perfect. Thank you everyone for introducing yourself. I think we can go ahead and get started with the full program. So we can start with Chief Young, if you'd like to go ahead.
So really, I just kind of want to add, my background obviously has been law enforcement, but there are so many aspects of the criminal justice system. First and foremost, can you guys hear me and see me okay? Because my screen went black on my side.
I can hear you and see you.
Okay, I'm just checking because I can't see anybody else on my side. But as long as you can see me and hear me, I will keep going. There are so many different aspects to criminal justice. So even though obviously I'm in law enforcement, we have courts, we have corrections, and I'm excited about adding this minor because I just think it provides other opportunities for our students. So, we're always looking for students to come and intern with us just so that they can see the other opportunities that a criminal justice profession could offer them. Like, for example, I want to give a shout out to one of our associate professors, Dr. Anthony Galante, who's an associate professor with Embry-Riddle, because he actually founded our drone program that we have here at the Daytona Beach Police Department and really helped put us on the map with drones. So when we talk about Embry-Riddle being the Harvard of the skies as it pertains to aviation, and then to be able to add that law enforcement piece by bringing in drone pilots to assist us in our public safety efforts is something that's huge because 25 years ago in law enforcement, we didn't have that. All we had was what we refer to as Air One, which is our helicopter that we have to, share with the sheriff's office. So throughout my career, we've had several students, Embry-Riddle students, who have made their way into law enforcement and, try to see if they can work their way to being a helicopter pilot. But now with technology being what it is, with drones, that's just another avenue of approach that we have here in law enforcement for those that have that aviation background. And then another thing as it pertains to criminal justice in general and law enforcement, whether it be the courts, whether it be corrections, or whether it be law enforcement, with artificial intelligence being the way it is now, I would like to say that, or like to kind of make the point, not that we're AI proof, but we're kind of AI resistant. Because although we now use tools to assist us in our public safety efforts and our crime fighting efforts, I think a career in law enforcement or in the criminal justice system, is pretty much AI resistant because you're always going to need folks to be out in the field, responding to things, problem solving in the courts, in the area of probation. And in the jails, of course, and in the prisons and corrections. So as students start to look at career paths, that's something that they have to consider nowadays is this profession going to be around 5, 10, 15 years from now because of what's happening now with artificial intelligence? So when we talk about criminal justice, I think it's pretty safe to say that we're going to be around regardless of what takes place with artificial intelligence. So that's something that I always like to highlight. And, you know, when we talk about mental health and things of that nature, because that is really a lot of what we deal with nowadays in law enforcement. I like to tell people that we're not just out here making arrests, writing citations, and chasing bad guys. A lot of what we're doing in the field nowadays is basic problem solving. And that takes like an abundance of common sense. And I've always said if I ever got the opportunity to kind of craft a curriculum, something that I'd like to focus on is basically the professional public servant part of what we do in criminal justice. Because as I slowly segue out of my current role as police chief, that's one thing that I really want to drive home to my current officers and any future officers that may want to join this department is regardless of the amount of authority that's bestowed upon us through state statutes and city ordinances, at our core, we are nothing more than public servants. And that's something that it's near and dear to my heart because the world has changed so much. And this is a career that, you know, we constantly have to stay on top of changing laws, changing ordinances, you know, the world politics, views on policing. And that's one thing that I've always taken to heart is it's my job now as the police chief to be the one to kind of stand in that gap between police work and politics. And I think offering a minor in criminal justice allows us the opportunity to kind of unpack those type of topics and issues and just really give our students you know, more opportunities to kind of explore the criminal justice field. I think we already do a great job with Homeland Security, with cybersecurity. So just to tie in this minor, I think I'm very excited about it. I'm very excited about you know the opportunities and where we can go, where we're going to go with this criminal justice minor.
Thank you so much for your insights. I really appreciated you bringing up artificial intelligence because I think that's so important to touch on right now in all areas. So thanks so much. I think we'll move on to the next person on the program, which will be Dr. Gazika. Dr. Gazika, you now have the floor.
Are there any specific questions about how criminal justice, having a criminal justice portion of our curriculum expands or enhances our students' competitiveness on the market? Is that what you'd like me to speak about?
That would be wonderful. If you could just talk a little bit about that and about what specific skills or um, things students should know if they want to go into a career in criminal justice and how the university might be able to help them do that.
Okay, so I'll speak mostly from, because we don't have a criminal justice minor on our particular campus. That's obviously new to Worldwide, and some of my students will probably take that minor to help round out their education. So psychology obviously focuses primarily on the human, their behaviors, their decision making. And when you talk about forensic psychology specifically, you're talking about how human beings decide to engage in unlawful behavior. So the human is just one piece of the puzzle, right? You can't really fully understand why humans decide to engage in criminal behavior unless you see the entire context. So I always explain to my students, criminal behavior is sort of like an onion, right? With all the predictors, you can start at the very top of the level, national policy, that kind of thing, all the way down to the human itself, and they're impacted by the system of law enforcement, courts, and corrections. And so be able to see how humans are interwoven into that system is essential. So without an understanding of how the system operates at the levels, law enforcement, courts, and corrections, they would not have a full understanding of how they can help human beings go through the system. So when we are talking about what our students might do with that, we have a lot of students who go into law enforcement. So a lot of our forensic psychology students are interested in law enforcement at every level, local, state, and federal government. But they also go into victims advocacy. Some of them go on to do clinical psychology so they can actually assess, for example, defendants, their mind state at the time of a crime or at the time of a trial. So having an understanding of that system is essential. But they go into victims advocacy. They go on to also be an behavioral analyst where they do deal with people who need special help in many different ways. But I do think communication is key. So being able to communicate, be able to critically think, those are a lot of those general education competencies that you can develop throughout both their curriculum and their professional lives. You have to be able to I guess be able to discern what this, so with our students, they're very much educated in understanding data, for example, and being able to understand what is actually going on in the criminal justice system itself and how it's influencing, for example, enforcement, deterrence, rehabilitation once they are on the correction system, and understanding how policies that were developed are actually working or not working. That's also important for our students as well. So there's a lot of different types of skill sets that they can learn, not only in our program, but also expanding that into a criminal justice, say, minor, to help them kind of a full circle to be able to understand all the different components. And our objective, honestly, is to help not only the court systems, but also help the humans, because most people do not stay in a correction facility for life. Most of them are going to leave that system. And how can we help mitigate them going back into the system? So understanding the system, understanding the human, all comes together. So if you want, I don't know if you have any follow-up questions with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I did have like a couple of questions just as a general for the panel that I was going to save for the end. I will ask though, for students who want to be competitive after graduation specifically, do you know of any like internships, volunteer opportunities, certifications, or experiences that you would recommend pursuing now?
She said to me, she said to the whole panel, but a lot of our students do, and you guys can contribute to. A lot of our students do have internships at local law enforcement. So Prescott Valley here, Prescott. We've had people go into OSI for internships, and ultimately, and if someone doesn't know what OSI, it's the Army equivalent of NCIS, which I think we all know because of the television show. And when they do the internships, we've had people hired on after them. I know that a lot of our students want to talk about the FBI, but I'll leave that to somebody else who probably could speak more on that topic itself. They also work in Yavapai County Victim Services. We have a lot of students that go into that. They do internships with behavioral analysis. Crime scene investigation is also one of the fields that our students are very passionate about. So they get internships in crime CSI across, the states. Really, I don't know if it's national, but they go all over. We had somebody in Nevada doing. I'm having a blank right now. Trafficking. Yes, sex trafficking. She was actually interning and learning quite a bit about that as well. So there's a lot of opportunities for students to get internships, both locally and not.
And I'm going to jump in. My name is Alan Sequella. I'm actually the internship faculty advisor for Global Security and Intelligence Studies here Prescott. So we have a ton of internships where our students are going to, and Steve can talk about it because he helps them with the FBI, but we have all the federal agencies that have internships and pick up a lot of our students. They go to Northrop Grumman, they go to Honeywell, they go to American Express. But we're talking security though. These folks are going into the security side of, let's say, the criminal justice system. And that's one thing we don't want to forget because and I'm sure the chief may not be aware that there's actually more jobs in the private sector than there is in the public sector. I can't remember what the stat is, but there's a lot of our students are going private sector and are going to, like I said, government contractors. Raytheon's another one, but we're also going some really cool, innovative. Because you talked about AI, we have students working at GeoGentia, which is uses satellite imaging, and we had a student last summer break up a human trafficking ring during his internship, resulting in 7 arrests. We have students working to AI type companies that are taking polygraph. I'm a polygraph examiner, taking polygraph to the next level with AI. And so we have students every semester working at one of those organizations. So our students are hitting the gamut. And like Michelle said, local law enforcement. We have them working in the crime lab. We have them working in, evidence and other positions in local law enforcement, federal law enforcement, all the different companies you can imagine, the government contractors, et cetera.
Yeah, that's can you guys hear me?
Yes,
All right,
All right, I'm struggling a
with
bit
with the
with the sound over here.
Hold on a second, we're gonna mute it.
Can you still hear me?
I can hear you, Chief.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
So I just kind of wanted to echo. I think I briefly mentioned it when I started, but we are always looking for great interns. We have with the colleges right here locally between Embry-Riddle, Bethune-Cookman, Kaiser, Daytona State College. We are constantly running students through primarily the criminal investigation division. It's split up into 3 different sections. We have property crimes, persons crimes, robbery, homicide, the crime scene unit, of course. We're in the process of revamping. We're in the process of revamping our internship because a lot of them spend an abundance of time with our victims advocate. And I'm trying to make sure that internship experience, they get to kind of see it all. They get to kind of make their way throughout the entire department with anything that's safe. Like, I can't put them with the SWAT team or K9 necessarily, but a lot of the other programs that we have or departments that we have, we try to spread the wealth and make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to see everything we have to offer.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone, so much for the answer to the question. I feel that this is really going to be valuable for our students. I kind of want to go back to the program now, and my apologies, as I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties at the moment. Dr. Van Horn would be next on the program. So, Dr. Van Horn, if you'd like to say a few words, you have the floor.
thank you. I don't know what more I can add. I mean, we do all the same things that everything you guys have just discussed. We just do it in the cyber 1 and 0 range. I mean, we've got internships all over the world. We have a need of 4 million cybersecurity workers in the world, 500,000 in the United States. I don't know if a criminal justice minor would help them in their jobs. I've never heard of that being a requirement, but that doesn't mean it's not there. I just don't know of it. So I don't know what I can add. I'm sorry.
No worries at all. We can move on to Professor Hooper. Professor Hooper,
Okay.
you have the floor.
All right, thank you very much. I want to touch on three things, strictly to potential curriculum, because that's what this is about, building that curriculum for the minor. The chief nailed it with how things in law enforcement change over and over. So what I would make sure is that, for example, our semester just ended, and we deal a lot with security and intelligence more than law enforcement. Although we do have several students that have gone on to police departments just to build their resume and get some experience, but they want to move into the intelligence world down the road and maybe the national security world. But understand that local law enforcement is part of national security now. And that's the key piece that you need to make sure you weave into the curriculum, because a 5-year patrolman could all of a sudden find him or herself on an FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force with a top secret security clearance, or they could find themselves on a DEA task force working transnational criminal organizations. So the preparation is not about a patrolman doing traffic stops. The preparation needs to be about how does law enforcement integrate in the national security world, because you have no idea what the next 6 months brings. We ended in May. The Iranian war didn't exist. And now it does. So when I go back in a few weeks, I have to weave the impact of a conflict in the Middle East with a terrorist state into my Foundations in Terrorism course. So everything changes every 6 months in law enforcement and in national security. So keep that in mind as you build a curriculum, that it can't be wash, rinse, and repeat. It has to change with the changing law enforcement. The second thing, and I know the chief knows this, the technology used by police departments now is crazy. Chief mentioned the drone program that now his PD has. I can tell you from the FBI on down to every federal agency, and most law enforcement agencies are using drones. So you need drone operators. And so how do you weave that into your curriculum about understanding? Now, of course, being Embry-Riddle, we have a huge benefit in that, a leg up on any other of the universities out there because of our aeronautical side. How do you weave that in? Do you weave that in? And so forth. And the technology, whether it's ShotSpotter or whether it's any of these technologies, the cop on the street doing car stops, for every cop on the street doing car stops, there's 2 cops doing national security. There's 2 other cops doing cybersecurity. There's 3 other cops on international drug operation task forces. But we think of law enforcement as the traffic cop out there. It is so much more than that. So make sure that, again, in the curriculum, you make sure that you weave that national security picture into it somehow. And that's the technology side, and understanding the advanced technologies that are out there. And so I think that's what you have to kind of look at in the GSIS program that we have. We take deep dives into counterintelligence, national security matters, counterterrorism, all the stuff on the national security level, but it's all connected to law enforcement agencies work in the street and their partnerships within. So I think that's a critical piece to building a quality minor program, so that they come out, even if they just end up, and if they end up wanting to be on a police department, they will go in with an understanding far beyond what most guys off the street, gals off the street that just show up at the academy. They will have much more advanced knowledge coming out of a worldwide minor law enforcement program if you integrate those types of topics into it. I hope that makes sense.
Thank you so much. Lastly, and I apologize that Professor Sequela was not previously mentioned. I'd like to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself a little bit more, or say a few words if you'd like before we move into the Q&A portion.
I've been here at Embry-Riddle for 5 years. I, I retired out of the corporate sector. I was the director of security and investigations at a national telecommunications company. Another company before that, I did start in law enforcement at the local level, and I moved into polygraph. And so I've seen a lot, and I've actually I steer a lot of the students to wherever they want to go, and that's why I enjoy having the internship program where I'm actually managing the interns. And so, like I think, like Hooper said, we have to think more globally when we're getting into law enforcement and criminal justice arena. And that goes to even the private corporate sector, because we have international organizations that have the same problems that cities are having. And we have to protect those organizations as well, because without revenue, without taxation, we don't have anything. So we got to protect we have to go beyond just the traditional historical criminal justice programs. Because you look around the country, around the world, there's criminal justice programs at every university. So how are we going to make ours different? And how's that going to help our students? And so those are the things I would suggest too. We have to differentiate ourselves and make them career ready. Come on.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I think now we'll move into questions. It looks like we do have a question in the chat. The question is, how might a local law enforcement officer find themselves attached to a JTTF once they have acquired a TS or a TS SCI clearance? Do they have a larger opportunity to seek employment with the FBI?
So I think that question would probably be for me. So I need a little help with the TTS, that part of it. I know JTTF, but what's the back part of that?
So I can jump in on how that works. How it works on the FBI end is we're always recruiting from the local law enforcement in the AOR, the area of responsibility where the JTTF is. And so let's talk about Phoenix. There's a Joint Terrorism Task Force in Tucson at our office down there, or the FBI office down there, and the one in Phoenix. And so the surrounding cities would offer up a police officer, usually a more seasoned one with some time on. And then it's when they get selected to come to the JTTF, then they have to go through their background investigation to acquire the top secret security clearance. And it's actually a TS SCI, which is higher than top secret. And so they end up on the JTTF if they pass that background and a polygraph. And then they come on the JTTF. And that experience, usually it's a rotational thing, but we've had in different offices, we've had task force officers is what they're known as, TFOs. And they'd be on the JTTF for 4, 5, 6 years sometimes and gain a ton of national security and global law enforcement experience. And so I think the tail end of that question was, how does that benefit them in maybe pursuing a career in national security? Yeah, I mean, having gone through a TSSCI security clearance, yeah, that always would be a benefit if they decided to apply for a national security position. I hope that answers the question.
Well, I think I can jump back in and answer the first part of the question. So the first part was basically, if I understood it correctly, as it pertains to local law enforcement agencies, how would a police officer work their way into being like a TFO? And I think at the most basic level, it starts by being just a solid, proactive police officer. I mean, that's how you get anywhere in any profession, is coming in, doing things the right way, working hard, not cutting corners, being ethical. And that's when you get the eyes of your supervisors and at a basic level, that's how the selection process works. Those that are out here, going above and beyond, doing things the right way, making solid solid cases by writing great reports. That's how they get the attention of, the specialized units to begin to work their way up to an opportunity to get into a task force.
Yeah, generally speaking, the police department send us, to their credit, and what the chief said, they send their all-stars. They do send the best over, and that certainly helps the JTTF when we get their quality. The sad thing, the unfortunate thing, is that they lose that quality employee off their streets. And understand what their role is, because a lot of times the chiefs, the captains, the officers on the police department, they don't have a security clearance. So the cases that their officer is working on a JTTF, they can't even talk to the chief about it because it's classified information. But they do act as as the connection to the police department, so that they're aware of what their officers are working on the JTTF. So there's a benefit to both sides.
And just to add to that as well, most of our officers that are TFOs, they become lifers. Once they get into those positions, I rarely see them unless we're getting ready to do a major takedown, and then we'll have our briefing, and then sometimes I have to get minimized so they can talk to me about what's going on. But if they have it their way and they keep their nose clean, a lot of them make a career out of those TFO positions. And as long as they're doing a good job and representing the department well, I've never had an issue with that.
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to open it up for more questions. If anybody else in the chat has any questions, you can go ahead and ask them. I'm not able to see the people who are in person, but if there are any attendees in person who have questions, now's the time.
Megan, Steve Hooper here. I'm going to have to jump off in a couple of minutes. I have another conference that I have to attend online.
Absolutely, no problem. Thanks so
Okay.
much for being here. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day.
No problem. And I did do an online class with you guys last summer on intelligence. And so, you know where to find me if you have any questions or you need any help with curriculum or anything, please don't hesitate.
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, I have a question for the panel. Things like communication, teamwork, and critical thinking are skills that we hear about all the time. Can any of you speak to how important those skills are in day-to-day work, working in criminal justice?
So for me, the three: critical thinking, teamwork, cooperation, we would be highly ineffective without those particular qualities, without those assets, especially the critical thinking, because obviously in our profession, our decision making a lot of times is a matter of life and death, which is why critical thinking is obviously key. And communication, without effective communication, we'd be making a lot of critical mistakes that we don't need, because obviously mistakes in our profession could obviously have us unemployed and maybe even incarcerated. So those things are just key to everything we do in this profession.
Chief Young, what qualities would you look for? Like if you're hiring a candidate, what are like the most important qualities or skills that you would look for when you're assessing whether to move forward with somebody?
Obviously, a clean background. It starts there. We can overlook some things. We all make mistakes when we're in our late teens, early 20s, but a clean background is number one. We love people with some level of life experience. We know we have kids that are coming fresh out of college a lot of times. Maybe they don't have military background and this is their first real job. So as long as they're willing to learn and listen and they have an abundance of common sense, we can teach them everything else. But if they have some life experience, that's probably the most important quality that I look for as it pertains to what we do on a day-to-day basis, and just be teachable. We tell all of our new recruits, mouth shut, ears open. Listen to what you're being taught, focus on your training, and you should be okay. You should be able to make it through and have a successful career.
Thank you so much. I don't see any more questions in the chat. I'll do one final ask for any questions from anybody either in person or in the chat. And if not, we'll go ahead and sign off.
Yeah, I'd like to jump in. Can you guys hear me all right, or?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. This is mainly pointed towards Chief Young. For all the panelists, thank you so much for taking the time for addressing us here today. I don't think I will be pursuing a criminal justice minor. I already have I'm already working towards a minor in security and intelligence, but I am currently working towards a law enforcement position, a local law enforcement position in upstate New York. And I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about making a good impression for the hiring process, and how might a diverse skill set help with employment. I have a military background, but in terms of classes that I should be prioritizing over others to try to differentiate myself in terms of being hired.
Great question, and it's nice to meet you. Is there any chance maybe we can keep you here or keep you in Florida, or are you already up in the upstate New York area?
I'm happy to jump down to Daytona if that's possible. But
All right. So maybe we should talk offline a little bit. So maybe I can slide you my information or my email address, because I'm always looking for solid recruits. But when you talk about what gives you a leg up and what we look for in the interview process, the number one thing when it pertains to the interview process is being truthful. Because when you get to the table and you're being interviewed, they may ask you some tough questions. Keep in mind that if they have a decent background investigator, which I'm sure they do, they already know the answers to the questions that they're asking, and they just want to know if you're going to be truthful. And, we all have connections. Like you mentioned, you're a military veteran. That's a great thing. That's a added bonus. But most recruiters have contacts in the military in all branches. So they probably already, will get some insight on your career in the military. And they'll probably do a deep dive on questions of anything that may have come up throughout your time in the military. So more important than any class that you can take or will take leading up to a law enforcement career is your ethics, your moral compass, and being honest about any mistake that you've made in the past, because every agency realizes that we're hiring from the human race. So when you're hiring from the human race, that means none of us are perfect. And we've all made mistakes, and we're going to continue to make mistakes. But as the police chief and any member of command staff that's going to be deciding on if you're given an opportunity or not, we look at the two types of mistakes. There's a mistake of the head and there's a mistake of the heart. If it's a mistake of the head, it's simply that. It was just a mistake. But if your heart's bad, then we can't use you. So most important than anything else, going into trying to get into law enforcement or criminal justice in that interview process is being truthful. Being truthful and then letting them decide if it's whatever it is, if it's something we can overcome or not. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, I think that generally covers it. In terms of how much influence, I do believe, at least for the local department that I'm hiring or trying to get onto, at least currently, um, the chief handles the final acceptance of a potential either a good candidate or a questionable candidate. How much influence would a chief of police have in that final decision? And um, yeah, I think just how much influence, not like undue influence, but in terms of making like a character check or if you'd like to expand on that.
So most chiefs, we don't have time to do the background checks of every candidate. We have our background investigators that handle that, but I will make it a point to have a conversation with my hiring team because we like to hire in groups. So I'm getting ready to start a class in October, my next class, and I think we got about 18 candidates right now going into the October class. So I will sit down with my hiring team and we will go over each file. And if there's anything of concern, we discuss that concern, and if it's something that we can, overlook, we will. If not, we'll notify the candidate that they're not moving forward in the hiring process. Very rarely will they bring me a candidate that hasn't passed everything. Usually it's something like they're concerned about certain tattoos, things of that nature, and they want to make sure that I'm okay with it because appearance is important. So they want to make sure I'm okay with it if it becomes an issue down the road. But I think most agencies, the background investigator does a pretty good job. But obviously the buck stops with the police chief on all of this. But usually by the time it gets to the chief level, most candidates are pretty solid.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, if we don't have any more questions from the audience, I'll go ahead and close out. I wanted to say thank you again to everyone who asked questions. Thank you to everybody who came here and volunteered their time to speak with us. Chief Young, Dr. Gazika, Dr. Van Horn, Stephen Hooper, and Alan Sequella. We appreciate you so much sharing your experiences and your perspectives and your advice with our students. We hope this discussion has given you a better understanding of the career opportunities within criminal justice and sparked your interest in our new minor. Thanks so much again, and have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Thank you.